Again, I haven't ever heard that it could. I don't know that the water on its own, it might depend on what supplements you're taking that the kidneys would be having to deal with. Too much protein can damage your kidneys. That's for sure. For some reason, the literature suggests that hyponatremia is more likely to occur in women than in men, although the media stories I've read about athletes have all been men, so I'm not sure why the literature suggests that. If I've got a very low sodium diet for some reason, then that could put you at risk, right? Because your sodium levels may already be borderline, and then you sweat a lot or you drink a lot, and that could tip them over a healthy level, concentration. It's one of the reasons why they include sodium in rehydration drinks. So there's lots of different drinks out on the market now. We've got all kinds of things. We've got pre-exercise, pre-event drinks. We've got during event drinks. We've got post-event. We have carbohydrate protein mixes. We've got electrolyte drinks that are supposed to help you hydrate. All right? It's getting a little technical, and they're all pretty expensive. Remember, if I'm not training for more than an hour, then all I need is water, right? But they don't tend to put very much sodium into rehydration drinks because no one likes to drink salt water. It doesn't taste good, it makes you bath. So when they say they're rehydration drinks, you may still need a little more sodium, but most of us in our diet, the kinds of foods that we eat in this country, we get plenty of sodium. You know, they do sometimes recommend people to take sodium tablets while they're running a race so if you go to Georgia and you're going to run triathlon or something crazy where you're going to be sweating like that, then they will sometimes suggest to take a little sodium, a salt tablet. But there's a lot of research looking at athletes in endurance events that indicates that just the salt in your diet, in your daily diet, is enough for the majority of people. So then, the goal is to maintain you hydration, right? And there are guidelines out there. The ACSM has guidelines, the CDC has guidelines. There's several different groups. None of them are exactly the same, but the overall goals of all of them are the same, right? What I want is to start the activity in a euhydrated state. That means that the hour or the couple of hours before I'm going to go train or before I'm going to compete, I need to make sure that I'm drinking on a regular basis so that I start off fully hydrated, right? Then you need to maintain hydration during the activity. So we should be looking at, well, if I'm 2 pounds lighter at the end, I'm going to be able to run faster, right? That's a strategy some people use depending upon the event, but it's not a very wise strategy from a health perspective, right? If you're in a team game, then make sure that you and all your athletes are getting regular water breaks during the game. Right? Now, when you're here at Eastern, you're at a big college that has a super athletic training department, and they come out and they bring great big jugs of water and they're encouraging you to drink, that's great. But what if you're at a high school that has no athletic trainer? Who's taking responsibility for making sure your athletes or your PE students are getting enough water, right? You're the adult in charge. Telling them to go and drink water may not be the best strategy. Stop the lesson, stop the game, make everybody go get water, make everybody come back and start again. Right? Because how many of you when you were younger, coach said, oh, well, you know, remember you've got to go off the field and go get a drink of water. How many of you would voluntarily walk away from the game? Right? So that's not going to be the strategy to work, probably, if you're working with high school or middle school students. You're going to have to stop the game and make them take a drink. You guys, if you're not taking a drink, you're responsible. Okay? But if you're in charge of underage, if you're working with a population who are not adults, it's up to you. Okay? So it depends who you're working with. Fluids should be, rehydrate after the activity, obviously. Use your weight tool. Use your urine color chart. How much water should I be drinking over the next 2, 3, 4 hours? Can I develop good habits? Fluids should be palatable and cool. And in many instances you want some electrolytes, but sometimes you're just going to be able to get away with water somewhere between 50 to 70 degrees. Cool, not freezing. It should not have ice cubes in it. Right? The ice cube thing is if you've got someone overheating and you need to cool them down. If you are trying to rehydrate, it doesn't need ice cubes, it needs to be cool. So that we move the fluid out of the intestines and into the body as quickly as possible. Okay. And as I said, you might need electrolytes. For most of us, just having salt on our food is going to be enough. Developing a hydration plan. So as much as possible, you want to try to do this on an individual basis. And I understand that for football coaches that's difficult because there's 150 football players and I don't have time to make a hydration plan for every one of my players, so that we just globally say, carry your jug of water around, make sure you drink, however, I don't know how many they tell them to drink, but in a day. But if you can, try to do this on an individual basis because everybody sweats at a different rate. Everybody is a different size. Everybody tolerates fluids in different ways. So we should develop a plan that's individualized. And remember that you're going to have to change it depending upon what time of the year it is. Right? There's not very many places where the temperature stays relatively consistent all year. So hydration plans have to be flexible. I don't need to drink as much when I'm out skiing in January as I do when I'm out biking in July. Kind of obvious, but it's amazing how many people don't do it. So, ACSM, NATA, CDC, as I said, lots of different sets of guidelines. They're slightly, they don't agree with numbers and timing completely, but the overall idea. Start hydrated, stay hydrated, and rehydrate when you finish. Next week is the last chapter before the next review